meeting where we all discussed that. We made changes inside of that policy. Item B5 is the consideration of approval of an ordinance authorizing the closure of multiple streets during the 2024 Belmont Turkey Trot 5K to be held on November the 28th. And it's utilizing the route that is typically used for the annual Thanksgiving Day 5K. Item B6 is approval of an ordinance authorizing the sale Friday, October 18th from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. and Saturday, October 19th from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Ordinance and the map is also included inside the packet. Item B7 is the considered approval of an ordinance to close streets in Eagle Park neighborhood on October 31st, 2024. This is for their annual trick-or-treating Halloween event for Eagle Park. And item B8, the last item, is a budget amendment number 3 for this fiscal year, and that is to close certain POs and projects that were in last fiscal year's budget and reopen new POs for Davis Park Picnic Shelter, the Julia repaving project, and Reed Park parking lot project for this fiscal year. And I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thanks, Miles.
Yes,
any questions or concerns about any of the consent agenda items?
I have one question. Miles, you and I have spoken about the Julia paving project, that there's a remaining repair to be done.
Yes.
I just want to clarify that amendment that we're talking about tonight. That amendment includes whatever remaining work there is to still to be done?
Yes, I think the permanent striping needs to occur, and then we're going to put the speed hump strips down at the bottom of the hill on both sides of the lane of travel, and also extending the pavement to encompass an area where we had to tie into a water main valve there, so it covers those.
And that's that intersection we were talking about at Greenwood, right?
Yes,
Where you
sir.
got the big dip.
Yep.
That's all going to be repaired.
Yes, sir.
And it's not going to revise the number that we're talking about here for the amendment?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Anything else? I'll just, a couple things. I did make a few edits to the traffic calming policy, just based on what had been presented. I think they were changed in the packet, but if anyone wants to see what I proposed to Miles to do, I'm happy to share that. So there.
Just grammatical changes?
There was
again, or-
one, just where they asserted unless otherwise directed by council, I changed that to put it somewhere else because it didn't make grammatical sense where it was put.
But from a process
From a
standpoint,
process
it's the
standpoint,
same.
nothing.
Yeah,
It's
same.
consistent with what we agreed to, that the petition comes first, then the speed study, and then even notwithstanding the results of the speed study, unless otherwise directed by council, that we can still direct that it proceed.
Okay.
So the other thing I would note is I would like to move B7 regarding the ordinance to close streets in Eagle Park for Halloween. I'd like to move that to the regular agenda. There's been some concerns expressed along the way about safety as that event becomes bigger and bigger, and so I'd just like to have a brief discussion and hear from our police department about some measures that are being handled in association with that. So if we could move that of the regular agenda, and then I think, Alex, you might have an additional reshuffling when it comes time to set the agenda. And then we'd renumber everything else accordingly. All right, so that's all I have.
You said you want to move that to C2?
Yeah,
Okay.
it shouldn't take long. Anything else? All right, well, if there's nothing else, then I think we can move directly into the regular meeting. And so I will call the October 7th, 2024 regular meeting of Belmont City Council to order. Giving the invocation tonight is Mike Phillips, pastor of South Point Baptist. So Mike, if you step forward, please, and lead us in our invocation.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Shall we pray together? Father, as we gather tonight, Lord, we pause in your presence. Father, I want to pray for these ladies and gentlemen that lead our city, and Lord, for those interested persons that are here. Father, the Bible tells us that every governing authority has been established and ordained by you, so these men and women are here under your direction and authority. And so, Father, we pray that you'd give them wisdom as they make decisions that are going to have such influence on hundreds and hundreds of people here in our Belmont community. Father, the Bible tells us that if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God. He gives to all men liberally and without partiality. So tonight we ask in faith that you give great wisdom as they make decisions that are going to influence so many people. And so we'll trust you to do that. Father, we know according to the book of Proverbs, many are the plans of a man's heart, but it's your purpose that prevails. And so God, as they conduct business, our prayer is that your purpose and your plan for Belmont and what would be in our best interest for all of our people would come through. So we'll trust you to do that. God, again, thank you for their service to our community. We pray your favor to rest upon them. Give them wisdom and direction tonight. And every time they gather is our prayer. And we'll be careful to ask it in the strong name of our Lord Jesus. For it's in his name that we pray. Amen.
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 Amen. Thank you.
We could have Jason, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Sure. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we get into the meat of the agenda, we do have some recognitions and acknowledgments. First of all, we have the North Carolina League of Municipality Public Safety Review Award. So is Chief Falls here to provide a little insight into what this award is about.
Good evening.
Good
Thank you,
evening.
Mayor, members of council. This is the second recognition that the police department's getting, and this is the Law Enforcement Risk Management Review. It's conducted by the North Carolina League of Municipalities, and my name's Tom Anderson. I'm the Director of Risk Control and Public Safety Risk Management. And basically, we look at all the high-risk areas, the policies, the training, the operations, just to ensure that they are meeting best practice standards. And I can tell you that your department is a standout. I spent 33 years in law enforcement, 7 years as a police chief myself, and if I was a new chief in 2024, I would be asking your chief to be my mentor based on what I've seen. So congratulations again. This is the second time that you all have received this award, and it is a lot of work to make this happen on behalf of your police department. So the plaque reads, and Chief, if you want to stand up here. I don't know how to better. Come over here. Plaque reads, North Carolina League of Municipalities recognizes the Belmont Police Department for completing the Law Enforcement Risk Management Review and proactively serving the community in a professional manner while taking steps to minimize risk for our citizens and officers. Presented October 7th, 2024. And I would add, this is all about leadership, and the chief could not do what he is doing without the support of this board and the mayor and the manager, so thank you for that.
Thank you, Tom.
Sorry. Council, Mayor Pro Tem, Miles, first I'd like to say that it's an honor to be up here to be able to be awarded this award for the police department, but behind every leader is a great staff, and I couldn't be standing here receiving this award if it wasn't for my staff. I'm the one that gives the direction of which way to go and what we're doing, and the staff takes the reins and runs with it, and we have a great staff, and I can say our success is mainly because of them and the direction. But this does prove that we and continue to get better and continue to stay at the same level, or if not better than where we were prior. So thank you for providing us with the tools necessary to be able to be successful like we have been, and they're under Miles' direction, and you're providing for us. And lastly, not least, I would like to also thank the community for standing behind us, not just recently in the time of need with everything that's going on, but ever since I came here in 2017, the community's been great to us. And I'd like to thank the community for the continued support that they give us at the police department. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Congrats, Chief.
All right. Well, we have a couple of proclamations to announce before we continue further. The first proclamation recognizes October 2024 as Pedestrian Safety Month in the city of Belmont. Whereas every October, the U.S. Department of Transportation, U.S. DOT, and National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, celebrate National Pedestrian Safety Month. And whereas walking is a healthy mode of travel that is environmentally friendly and is in its pedestrian and mobility plans, the city of Belmont has embraced the principle that all people should be able to travel safely throughout the community. And whereas walkability is a positive attribute of our community, and the city of Belmont is committed to safe and convenient mobility, economic hardship and climate change, walking in our neighborhoods is a valuable option for a healthy and family-friendly activity, and a safe pedestrian environment can support economic development and local businesses. And whereas, as we are all pedestrians from time to time, it is important to pay attention to what is going on around us, and drivers must remember that pedestrian crossings exist at every intersection, whether painted or not, and be vigilant to ensure the safety of pedestrians. And whereas the city recognizes the efforts from the Belmont Planning and Zoning, Police, and Parks and Recreation departments in promoting the benefits of walking as a form of healthy recreation and as an active mode of transportation to commute to school and work. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the month of October 2024 is hereby designated as Walktober and Pedestrian Safety Month in the city of Belmont, in an effort to encourage all within our community to rededicate ourselves to enjoying the benefits of walking and ensuring the safety of pedestrians in our community. Adopted this 7th day of October 2024. We also have a proclamation recognizing October 2024 as Community Planning Month in the city of Belmont. Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, boroughs, townships, rural areas, and other places. And whereas community planning and plans can help manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people work and live. And whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community. And whereas the full benefits of planning require public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation. And whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America and its territories. And whereas the American Planning Association endorses National Community Planning Month as an opportunity to highlight how planning is essential to every community and how planners are uniquely positioned to identify solutions to communities' most difficult housing, transportation, and land use questions. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of planning commissions and other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of the city of Belmont. And whereas we recognize the many valuable contributions made by the professional community and regional planners of the city of Belmont, and extend our heartfelt thanks for the continued commitment to public service by these professionals. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the month of October 2024 is hereby designated as Community Planning Month in the city of Belmont, in conjunction with the celebration of National Community Planning Month. Adopted this 7th day of October 2024. All right, so having proclaimed those items, we will now move to set the agenda, and I understand we have one additional change.
Yes, as long as it's okay with everyone, I'd like to move agenda item C6 to C3, so that would be right below the Eagle Park road closure. Does anybody have any objections to that? Okay. With that, Jim, would you like me to give you a motion?
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to set the agenda, but moving item B7 from the consent agenda to item C2 on the regular agenda item, and then moving item C6 of the regular agenda to item C3, and then, of course, anything would then just be bumped down.
Okay, is everyone clear with that? Is there, Charlie seconds? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the agenda is adopted as modified. That brings us, let's see, to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as we've just revised it?
Motion to approve the consent agenda based off the revisions.
A second.
Okay, motion made by Alex, seconded by Jason. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the consent agenda is adopted. That takes us into the regular agenda. Item C1 is public comment. We have two individuals signed up for general public comment. First is Bill Reams. When you come up, please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes as designated by the lights.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
First of all, I'd just like to say that I don't envy any of y'all. Y'all got a lot of agenda items that y'all have to deal with that affect all of us here that have been not addressed in the past. These traffic calming devices is one of them. I've lived at 17 Oak Street since 1994. This is my third time to talk about this topic, this same topic. We do have a petition that everyone we spoke to that came to the door was willing to sign. It was only the folks that we couldn't get to the door that wasn't willing to sign. So this is a cut-through street that has a lot of traffic that comes off of Central, trying to beat those lights at Central and Main, and trying to get on further down Upper Armstrong Road. And they come through our neighborhood. Most people are very respectful of our neighborhood. They watch the stop signs, and they come up the hill, and they go about their way in a very orderly fashion. But there are at least 50% or more that meet your criteria that require traffic calming devices. I really hope you take this into strong consideration. We would greatly appreciate even speed limit, more speed limit signs. There's only 2 on the street. One as you come off Harris, and one directing Main as you come off Main. If you come down Park, or if you come down Myrtle and you turn to go to Main, you'll never see a speed limit sign. So a lot of folks may be just ignorant about what the speed limit actually is in our community. You mentioned October as being Walktober. We have a ton of pedestrians that transverse our street to go to downtown and to enjoy the Davis Park area. So in the spirit of safety and the spirit of Walktober, I would really like to see more effort into calming the traffic that's on our street, whether it be speed bumps, traffic stop signs, or what it may. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Margaret Nicholas.
Good evening. My name's Margaret Nicholas. I live at 24 Oak Street. I've lived there for 5 years, and my parents, we moved them down because my mother was ill. It was during the pandemic. My dad, they're both gone now, sat out on our front porch and was absolutely amazed at the traffic and the speed. This is an 80-some-year-old guy, okay? I am absolutely mystified I've definitely been very vocal with some that drive by. I wish I had a speed camera that I had on my phone. It is dangerous, and as my good neighbor Bill Reams said, walking families, I love to sit out on my front porch with our dogs and my husband sometimes. But it is amazing the amount of people that walk, bicycle. They're just out enjoying. It's a great neighborhood. But boy, I've been almost clipped a few times, and I can drive out of my driveway. I've also had to wait. I've had to put a blinker on. So I really do hope you all will take this serious, because I don't want to have to wait until something horrible happens. I just don't want to see that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I would say that let the record reflect that a petition was handed to the city manager by Mr. Reams, which I am understanding would be the petition of neighbors pursuant to the traffic calming policy we've just adopted. And so my understanding, as we discussed, gosh, it seems like so long ago, but I guess it was just last month, is that this would now start the process through the policy, which we have now adopted the amended policy, and we'd start the process for the potential traffic calming measures on Oak Street. Is that?
I was going to say the same thing. I'd just like to see this come on a agenda item coming up so that this can be re-brought forward and we can vote on this the proper way again.
Yes. And is that my understanding correct, Miles, that we will now, having adopted the amended policy, we now have the petition and we'll start going through the steps as modified?
That's correct. Staff will look through the petition, make sure it's accurate, and then based on the policy, move to number 5, which I think it includes what staff would recommend that we do to calm traffic.
Okay.
Bring it back to you all.
Great, thank you. All right, so that is general public comment. So as modified, item C2 is now the Eagle Park road closure ordinance, and I had requested that this be moved to the regular agenda. I think we all know that there's been a Halloween event, for lack of a better term, in Eagle Park that has gotten bigger and bigger, and we have our new special events policy, which the neighborhood HOA has gone through to request the barricades for road closures. But I know there have been some concerns expressed with safety as more and more people come to that event, and it gets bigger and bigger, and people come not just from the Eagle Park neighborhood, but from outside it. And so I just wanted to take the opportunity before we voted on the ordinance to perhaps hear from our staff or police department about any additional measures that might be taken this year as the event gets bigger. So,
Yes, so I'll ask Chief Falls if he'll come up to the microphone, and just to give everyone a little bit of information, Mr. Heffernan met with Chief Falls, Captain Black, and myself back in July, and kind of went over some of the issues that the community was experiencing. I believe that Jim had met with some folks out there, and there was various concerns, and I can just go down a few of them, and then Chief could fill in the blanks after that. I think there was some interest in Belmont Central's parking lot. There was a lot of tailgating that was going on at that point. There was a report of windows getting busted out last year, an adult with a chainsaw, trick-or-treating late into the night, knocking on doors past 11 p.m. The concern of if there really was a true emergency, how would vehicles get in and out of the neighborhood given that there's so many people on the streets, and vandalism that possibly had occurred, or alleged vandalism that occurred, and so we had a conversation around that, and Chief can fill in the blanks on anything else that I'm missing here. Chief.
Yes. There were some concerns and some things brought up about damaged property, such as a window being busted out, which we didn't have a report for. I have spoken to the person who made that claim actually today. Also, there were some people saying there was a gentleman walking around with a chainsaw. It was a real chainsaw. It didn't have a blade on it. He had his garage, I think, decorated up like a haunted house or something as people were going through it. So there wasn't really any merit to that other than the fact he did have a real chainsaw, but it didn't have a blade, just like a haunted house. And people coming to the door, the residents, at 11 o'clock trick-or-treating. In this neighborhood, just something for the public's consumption. In this particular neighborhood and some other neighborhoods across the city, not just Eagle Park, there's an abundance of people who are coming around. And this event that the application is for, I believe, is over at 9 o'clock. But when people have their houses lit up with the decorative lights and then they leave their porch lights on, people are going to come to your door. Even if the event stops at 9, we can't really combat that other than to try to say ahead of time to maybe turn the lights off. And if you can, if it's possible, we have a little time left, someone maybe could unplug the decorative lights that are shining on your house, because that's in that neighborhood, there's a lot of that I noticed. That's just a little tip, maybe to get people to not come to your house so late. There was 3 officers who worked at the barricaded roadways that are the main egress and ingress to the neighborhood last year. We had, this is a huge event, not just in this neighborhood, but Halloween in particular. There's tons of neighborhoods in Belmont, so there's a lot of people in these neighborhoods walking around. They park their cars at the school. We can't manage that because it's a private entity. The school either gives them permission or don't, but we can't enforce anyone parking in the school because it's private property unless the school wants us to. If someone from the school system calls us, then we'll definitely handle that part of it. So people parking, walking, there's a lot of people. So this year, what we plan to do, because you do have people, officers who are at the 3 locations where the barricades are at, that are provided by the city under the permitting process. Those officers are there for the safety of the people, but they're also there to get people in emergency equipment like ambulances and fire trucks in and out of there without a civilian having to do that at those points of entry, because that can cause some confusion. So they're there for that purpose, to make sure everything's orderly and going on. But after some discussion that we had in those meetings, we decided that it would be better to have a roving officer inside there, maybe on our side-by-side or even walking, to where maybe it would be a little more safer and people would feel a little more safe, because it's kind of blocked off and we have officers there, but no one really sees the police as they're walking through the neighborhood. So we thought maybe that would combat that. But also, we plan on making this officer work until 10 p.m. And the officers, there'll be 4 of them, will be paid for by the homeowners association, which I believe is Property Matters. And they would be paying for the off-duty officers to come on Halloween and work that event. Trying to see if there's anything left out. No, I think that sums it up. Y'all have any questions?
Any questions for Chief?
I have one. So there's only 3 entry and exits to Eagle Park, right? So all 3 of them are barricaded. So is there no vehicular movement during that period from 6 to 9 allowed in that neighborhood? Is that right?
I wouldn't say there's none allowed. We just try to minimize it as much as we can. We're not going to make like someone not have access to their residence.
Sure.
But for the most part, I think since
It discourages a lot of.
discourage is a good
Yeah.
word, Jason. Yes, absolutely. But because we don't want a lot of traffic in there in cars, but we're not going to say you can't go to your house and you have to
Sure.
go park somewhere else. And then they park in an area because the school's parked up in a no parking zone and get in trouble for that and add to the fuel to the fire, so to speak. So we would probably allow that to happen. It wouldn't be a big issue if they're just going home. But we'd say just try to do it in a safe way and really
Yeah.
go slow, because there's a lot of people. And there's not just a lot of people here, there's a lot of people in general, and we bring more officers in for that reason every year to patrol all of the neighborhoods. This is just one that happens to want to block it off where it's a lot safer in the manner that they do it and they feel it is. And with all of these measures in place, I feel like it's going to be fine.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Any more questions?
No, thank you
Thank you.
for that
Thanks, Chief.
response.
Chief.
Yeah, we want people to have fun, but we need to be safe too, so.
Absolutely.
With all of that said, unless there's any issues, I'd entertain a motion to approve this ordinance to close streets in the Eagle Park neighborhood for Halloween.
I'll make the motion to approve the street closure.
Motion made by Alex,
I'll second.
seconded by Jason. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, thank you. Moving on to revised agenda item C3, request to recommend designation of the J. Harold Lineberger House as a local historic landmark. And I believe this is not a public hearing, but we will have a presentation by the Gaston County Planning Department. Is that correct? We have, Ms. Ratchford, are you here? Yes. So we will have a presentation from the county, and then if the applicant is here, we can hear from them if they have anything to say as well. But we should be familiar with this as we addressed another designation at last month's workshop, but I will let Peyton Ratchford from Gaston County Planning present this request. Off you go.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Pro Tem, and Council. My name is Peyton Wiggins. I'm one of the planners that serves our county's Historic Preservation Commission. LM 00004 is a designation request for PID 125161 located at 316 North Main Street, and the applicant is Nanette Allison. The property is being referenced as the J. Harold Lineberger House. Process-wise, the request has followed the standard landmark designation procedures. The applicant has been working with the Historic Preservation Commission since the end of 2023. The applicant hired a consultant to write a designation report, which was then sent to the state for review and comments. The HPC recommended to move this to the public hearing stage at its last meeting. The property is located on North Main Street near the Sacred Heart campus. And this ortho photo shows the main house, and it is surrounded by other residential homes. This map shows who will be notified with information about the public hearing with the Board of Commissioners scheduled for October 22nd. Here are some photos that were provided by the applicant. This is the exterior of the home from Main Street. The home's being presented as an excellent and highly intact example of the Colonial Revival style home. Key features of the Colonial Revival home include columns and porches and steep pitched roofs with dormer windows. This photo shows a bay window and arch detail of the home. The house features Flemish bond brick veneer, a side gable roof with slate shingles, and symmetrical window placement. The structure is associated with the prominent Lineberger family, whose name is well known throughout Gaston County. J. Harold Lineberger was the third son of A.C. and Mabel Lineberger. The A.C. Lineberger house, located at 411 North Main, is just across the street and was designated back in 2000. The Gaston County HPC demonstrated the historic significance of the home and property as shown in the designation report, which is included in your staff packet. Additional photos of the interior of the home can be found within the designation report and your staff packet. However, note that the designation will not regulate anything inside of the home. The photos were just added for reference purposes only. As for tax purposes, the information on this slide was taken directly from county tax records. If the property is designated and the property owners go through the application process through our county's tax department, the City of Belmont would see a reduction in property taxes collected for this property by $3,108.92. Historic landmarks fall under the Real Property Tax Exemption and Exclusion Program. This exclusion is allowed through General Statute 105-278 and allows the property to be taxed uniformly on the basis of 50% of the true value of the property. This slide provides an overview of the tax deferment program. This is something the applicant would have to apply for and is property owner specific. It is not an automatic enrollment. This deferment does not run with the land like the designation does. It runs with the property owner. The property will always be designated if approved, but the tax benefit must be applied for separately. Please note that our staff does not participate in the processes that involve taxes. If the request is approved, we connect the property owner with our tax department. We also work closely with the tax department to confirm whether properties that are participating in the tax deferment program are still in good standing with their designation statuses. And Mr. Pro Tem, Mayor Pro Tem, this concludes my presentation. I can answer any questions you or the council may have. We also have members of our Historic Preservation Commission here, as well as the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you, Peyton. Any
Yeah, thank you.
questions?
So this property has DOT rail running just behind it, correct?
Yes, sir.
Would this designation conflict with like the plans for the Belmont Trolley eventually? Is there any issues there to be concerned about? Because that's, my understanding is that they plan to eventually activate that rail to.
Right. Usually we designate the structure itself in the report. If it talks about the property itself, it's specific about it. I believe in this one, it's only the home,
Okay,
the structure.
thanks.
Sometimes they can go down to the trees, like certain
Right.
trees on the
Yeah.
property and stuff like that.
You were asking about if they altered the back part of their lot or something like that, right? Is that what you're asking?
Well, just if this designation is approved, if that would infringe on the
Right.
trolley's plans at all, or vice versa.
Right.
Any other?
No questions, just a
Questions?
comment again. I think this is really good for the city because this will, continue to protect these houses, our architecture that kind of contributes to our, contributes to our kind of small town, kind of southern charm. So I think this is a really good one.
Thank you, Alex. And we appreciate the HBC members who are in attendance for this, as well as the applicant. I will, if the applicant wishes to briefly address and support, but you don't have to.
I just want to say thank you for considering this. We're just the second owners that have lived in this house.
If you want to come to the microphone. Yeah, so we can all
She's
hear.
like, darn.
Make the long
Yes.
walk.
Thank you. Good evening. I just want to say thank you on behalf of my husband and myself because he is also. We've lived in for your consideration of this. We love our home and feel so privileged to have been able to live there for over 30 years, and we're only the second owner, which is kind of a testament to what a great house it is. That no one wants to leave it once they get there. But anyway, I'm happy to answer any questions, but we really are excited about the opportunity to preserve the home. And thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, unless there are any other questions or points of discussion, I would entertain a motion to adopt a resolution in support of the historic designation.
I'll make the motion to adopt this resolution to recommend the designation of the J. Harold Lineberger House.
All right, motion made by Alex, seconded by Catherine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously. And again, just as we learned last month at the workshop, the next step is that it goes to the Gaston County Commissioners for a public hearing, at which time there would be formal approval of the designation. So thank you all who came out to present and show support. All right, very good. So now we come to revised item C4, public hearing for zoning amendment 2023.06 Crescent Development, a request to rezone a 13.68 acre site to downtown district, conditional district, to accommodate a mixed-use master plan community. At this time, having noticed the public hearing for this time and place, I would entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
Motion to go into public hearing.
Motion made by Alex, seconded by Jason. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in public hearing, and we will recognize Planning Director Tiffany Farrow.
Thank you, City Council. This item, as noted, was included in your packet, and we are excited to share more information about this project. However, on Friday, we did receive a request from the applicant that I would ask for them to come up and present to you. The request is for you to defer your consideration of this item and continue the public hearing. And so to present that request for you tonight is Attorney Representative John Carmichael.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. I'm John Carmichael here on behalf of the applicants. With me tonight are Bill Karstafen and Jess Trombold with Belmont Land and Investment Company, and Lat Purser and Jack Levison with Lat Purser Associates. I'll be really brief. We're requesting the continuance of the public hearing until May 5, 2025, or an earlier date as determined by council upon appropriate notice to obtain additional time to work with the county and the city on an agreement relating to the improvement of the intersection of Park Street and Catawba Street, and to obtain additional information on sewer capacity. I know you have a sewer capacity study underway. So those are the reasons for the deferral request. I will say we do think that there's, in our opinion, respectfully, a lot to commend about the project. There are a lot of conditions that have been agreed upon by the applicants relating to the park donation, the Crescent Park, Dwight Freddie Field Park donation, which is valued at about $6.6 million. The public art, the aesthetic controls, the mixed-use nature of the project, and really, we think which would be an asset to the East Belmont community, the significant pedestrian improvements, and then once again, working or hopefully partnering with the county and the city on some significant improvements to the Park Street and Catawba Street intersection. This is, I don't think you've seen this, this is just a rendering driving east on Catawba Street towards the development. The development is here on the right. That's the first mixed-use building at the corner of 4th and Catawba. We think it is compatible with the surrounding area in terms of the design, and there are aesthetic controls that are part of the rezoning plan, design and scale, so that's heading east. This is heading west on Catawba, looking at the site. The intersection of Tucker and Catawba is just beyond that white house, and you can see the townhomes there in the distance. And then this is not that much more legible, but it's a little zoomed in version. You can see the house. You may be able to see there's a representation of the public art there at the corner of Tucker and Catawba Street. And then you've seen this, I think, but this is the mixed-use building at the corner of 4th and Catawba with an outdoor seating and activity area at the corner. This is heading in an easterly direction. This is that same building with a pedestrian access from Catawba through the building to the parking at the rear. This is the courtyard between the first two buildings, or the westernmost buildings on Catawba Street. This is the mixed-use building on the right, the corner of 4th and Catawba, and then that's another mixed-use building beside it, and that's the courtyard where you would have outdoor seating and activities, and this is a zoomed-in version of that courtyard. And then this is the building at the corner of 5th and Catawba. These are the two buildings on Brook Street. These would be multifamily buildings. The buildings on Catawba would be 3 stories. The buildings on Brook would be 5 stories. And then these are views of those buildings from the soccer fields. And then these are the townhome buildings. So we would, if you have any questions about the deferral request, or any questions tonight about the proposal, or any questions you'd like us to research, assuming without that you are going to continue it between now and May 5, then we're happy to look into those matters as well.
Well, thank you, Mr. Carmichael. Those are wonderful drawings. We look forward to seeing them again in May of 2025 when this comes before us. Again, I would, returning to the matter at hand, which is the request to defer and the reasons why, the intersection discussions with the city and the county, and as we've all discussed, more importantly, the sewer capacity study and questions about the capacity, which we hope to have that information in hand by May of 2025, which is what prompted the request to that date. Any questions about the deferral request or additional research, as Mr. Carmichael mentioned, that we might have for the applicant?
Is the county aware as well?
I believe the county should be aware of this.
Yeah, the county's aware, and they've issued a letter that's also included in your packet to share with you all.
Okay. Well, we have opened the public hearing, and so the appropriate thing to do, if council is so inclined, would be to make a motion to continue the public hearing until the May 5th, 2025 City Council meeting.
I'll make a motion that we continue to May 5th of 2025.
All right, we have a motion to continue this public hearing until May 5th, 2025 council meeting made by Jason.
Second.
Seconded by Charlie. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
This matter is continued. Thank you. So that's where we're at. And we did not have anyone signed up for public comment. Anyone, of course, who wants to comment will have the opportunity to do so in May of 25.
I think, Jim, maybe
Yes.
just reiterate exactly what the continuation is, just so that we're clear. This wasn't approved nor denied. This is being postponed until May 5th or May, whenever, in 2025, again, based off of additional research and negotiations with the county. I just want to make that abundantly clear that this was not approved or denied. It's just being pushed.
Okay, thank you. And in the same lines, revised item C5, which is consider approval of an ordinance for ZA 2023.06 Crescent Development, a request to rezone a 13.68 acre site to downtown district, conditional district, to accommodate a mixed-use master plan community. The ordinance of approval, that item for consideration should likewise be continued until the May 5th, 2025 council meeting, precisely on the lines of what Councilman Zooks just said. So I will entertain a motion to continue that item as well.
I'll make a motion to continue that item.
Okay, motion made by Catherine,
Second.
seconded by Charlie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that item, the ordinance itself, that decision will also be postponed until, or continued until May of 2025.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
very good. So that leads us now to revised item C6, consider an ordinance to adopt a temporary development moratorium. And for this, we do have a public hearing, so I would entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
Motion to go into public hearing.
Motion made by Alex, seconded by Catherine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in public hearing. Is our Assistant City Manager, Kevin Kraus, going to have a presentation?
Yes.
Yes. All right.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Third time.
Yes.
All right, we'll go through these a little quicker for you since you've seen some of them before. So what is the moratorium? It's a pause button of an activity or a law until future consideration. So in North Carolina, the General Statute 160D 107 gives the authority to the council to approve a moratorium on development for very specific reasons that are outlawed in the ordinance. So why are we going to consider one this evening? Again, the sewer capacity study, the results of that said that we had some infrastructure needs, and local governments can impose a moratorium for that reason. So what's the process? We've advertised for this public hearing. You're about to hold the public hearing, and then at that time, there is an ordinance for your consideration, and if you approve that, it would enact that moratorium. So what's in ours? What's in that ordinance? So this is a temporary pause on new major subdivisions, multifamily development, and non-residential development in South Belmont. And we have a map that it references there. And for reference, major subdivisions is anything 8 lots or greater. Hard to see here, but this is on our website. It's been available for people to see. This is the entire area that's highlighted in that tan color. And then here's the northern boundary of it, so you kind of get an idea of where it starts as you head south down South Point Road. You can see that Henry Chapel Road is sort of an identifier, and we have those parcels listed. So permitted development that's exempt, there are some things that we had to leave in there and permit, and those are listed there, things with valid building permits, things that already have special use permits, developments with vested rights, and any subdivision plat that had been filed and accepted prior to last month when you set the public hearing. And then just for clarification, the development of any single family previously platted lot or any minor subdivisions, those under 8 are going to be permitted. And that's it for the presentation. I'm here for questions that you may have, but the ordinance is there, and remember, it's a public hearing.
Any questions for Kevin?
No, maybe just a comment, because I think a lot of us have gotten this question too. So like, for example, a lot in Reflection Point would not be part of this. It's grandfathered in, right? Correct? Okay, I just want to make sure we get that on the record, and I'm just using them as an example.
Sure.
The pre-approved developments will proceed. This is all new stuff as identified.
And same thing, to the extent that you have any vacant lots left on South Point Road, I don't think there are any, but that last exemption, the single-family platted lots, if somebody had an adjacent lot that they wanted to develop and put a single-family home on it, they would be exempt as well, right?
Those are all okay. It's when you're subdividing and creating 8 or more parcels.
Okay.
Anything else? Just a couple, and I apologize if you went over this. So this would cover all residential and non-residential, as we
Correct.
discussed last month.
Correct.
Yes. And I do want to, I think there's one other one on your slide, or that was not on your slide, because what prompted this moratorium is the issues with the Morgan's Branch pump station and sewer capacity. There is an additional exemption, is there not, that I don't think was up, involving developments whose wastewater will not impact the infrastructure of the Morgan's Branch pump station and its force main. Can you explain that?
You're correct. That was added at the end. So if a development can show that their waste does not connect to that system, that Morgan's Branch or that main sewer line, then they would be exempt because they're not causing any impact to that area. That's a rare
I was
thing.
about to
But
say,
it's,
I feel like that'd be pretty rare, right?
there's a potential for one area that's really close, but they would need to prove that they can send that wastewater a different way.
All right, any other questions for Kevin?
No.
All right, thank you, Kevin. We do have some individuals signed up for public comment. Again, the same rules that we've talked about previously apply. Please, when you come up, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to present public comment. We typically don't engage in back and forth. We will receive the public comment and consider it in our deliberations on the approval of the proposed ordinance. First up for public comment is Margaret Fogarty.
So I know it's 3 minutes. All right, thank y'all for having me. My name is Margaret Fogarty. I live with my husband Tom and our 3 children at 3204 Ashwood Park Drive in Belmont. We live in Reflection Point. Thank y'all for allowing me a few minutes to speak tonight and voice my support for this ordinance. With the previously approved and in-process developments, we really feel like we have yet to fully see the impact of traffic, school enrollments from these in-progress developments. And a lot of these are large developments, right, that we keep talking about. For those of us that live at the end of South Point Road, I mean, we are at the very end of the road, right? And so some days traffic is so bad that a 10-minute drive is 30 to 45 minutes. We are constantly stuck at the end of the road. We can't move. It's not pretty. Getting to Belmont Middle is a nightmare. Many of us in the community have concerns about the rapid growth and the impact to our schools. I've heard that the current kindergarten class at Page Elementary had upwards of around 80 additional students from the year prior. And that's what I've heard, and that resulted in classrooms being rearranged and cut in size to accommodate. With having 3 children, this is weighing heavily on my mind. We're part of the public school system here. But most importantly, I want to share a couple of my family and other people in my neighborhood's concerns around the health and safety of residents in the community. One thing that we talk about a lot within our home is, the Plant Allen Bridge, right? So that's our one-way home. That's, that bridge, do we feel like that is safe to add thousands of additional drivers, on the road? So that's something that comes up a lot for us. How do fire trucks, gyms handle when South Point Road is blocked due to a wreck? At least 3 times in the last year, we have had a wreck on South Point Road, and for us that live at the end of the road, we cannot get home. We have to either do a 45-minute loop around or sit there and wait. So I have a lot of concerns with these large developments in the Southern Peninsula, putting in, large number of community residents, and there being that potential that with a one-way in, one-way out, you can get blocked, and I've seen it happen. We've seen larger and more powerful storms that have recently been impacting our fragile infrastructure. we saw firsthand with a water bowl advisory, right? That was something that we had not seen after Hurricane Helene. As noted by the 2022-2023 Lake Monitoring Report, Lake Wylie is the most susceptible reservoir of sediment pollution due to inputs from multiple major tributaries, a shallow main channel, and overall river and the watershed shape. So what that's saying is that our lake is already in a fragile point. The more of these neighborhoods getting developed close to the river like that, and this high density, these are high density, that we're seeing. We're not seeing, an acre lot, right? We're seeing more of these negative impacts to our valuable water resources. Oh, there was a timer. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next public speaker is Chris Harden.
Chris Harden, Belmont resident, 723 Wood Lily Drive. Definitely want to affirm this moratorium. I want to make a comment, though, that I mentioned this 2 years ago that this was going to happen and was laughed at by the planning staff. Charlotte Water has been identifying this as a problem, not only here, but in the region. We're 95% full. I've lived in the area for over 34 years, more than half my life now, and I was at Huntersville, and I want to give you a name. Jack Simino implemented 3 of these. Huntersville. Get some input from him, because they did this 3 times for the sake of not only sewer, they used the sewer as an example to do all their traffic, schools, and everything, and they found out that residential development was a net add to the tax base. So I definitely would encourage you to reach out to other planning directors in the area, and even some of the stuff, there's a very good planning director at Greg Bindle at Mount Holly, very thorough planning and zoning. It gives a chance for a pause. It is totally legal, but also says in the act, it says that you should continue to go ahead and continue to do the moratorium until you solve the root problems. Hear that. Don't just think this is just sewer. Sewer is something we have to consider because it's something we can't wait for, like we can't wait in traffic, but we can have much more serious issues, schools and other items that sewer helps us to remind. It's a little humorous, sitting on the toilet, we can think about things and learn, okay? We brought this up a while ago. It very much impacts Henry Chapel Road, which was taken out into Gaston County. We need to go ahead and look at that because it's a serious issue. Also, like I said, flagged it 2 years ago, same as that, this township has been, or city has been one of the highest growth in the state percent-wise, higher than Huntersville was when they did their moratoriums 3 times. So this may not just be one time. Regional wastewater is full. Regional wastewater is 95% full. Two Rivers is full. This is not going away. So go ahead and make zoning regulations that address this and listen to Charlotte Water. I know Jackie Jarrell, knew Barry Gullett when he was in charge of it. No one wants to hear it, but also you can be in violation of other state laws and get fines that you have to pay because developers push you into it. Been in the region for 30 years, I know, okay? And also that's why some of the citizens asked me to speak tonight. So I would definitely consider that. I'll go ahead, and you've got the act already. Would strongly recommend that you look at Mount Holly. I know it's hard to learn from Mount Holly because we're Belmont. They have an excellent zoning regulation that does this, and we have people who are experienced at Mount Holly, and developers know them as tough but fair. Isn't that a great reputation? Okay? Why not bring it to Belmont and keep our small town feel, get smart growth that lasts a long time?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Taryn Ferris. All right. 3 more minutes.
Come on down. Okay, I wanted to, once again, emphasize the point. What I'll do is, it looks like it's a...
Sorry, that was not, in fact, 3 minutes.
Okay, zip twice. All right. We also have professionals in the room. I won't mention their name, but Withers Revel did an excellent job on that. But on something as difficult as this, that you might have to defend it legally, I would strongly recommend third-party peer review. So and not only on the sewer, but on all the zoning regulations. I was amazed by how few zoning districts different types that Belmont has compared to other neighboring townships. That allows for smart growth. So I would definitely look at the whole zoning regulation, take the time. We looked at traffic and everything in Huntersville. Brought a lot of hard things out. It also made those beautiful places where they protected the parks, ladder plantation. My property was in Huntersville at that time. They developed what's called a farm cluster regulation that tied in and allowed farms. You see that North Mecklenburg County? Why not do that here, down on the peninsula? It'd be beautiful. So go ahead and you can do things. Withers Ravenel peer review. Would also recommend that you get peer review for your rezoning considerations. Don't just let your staff do it, respectfully. Get some third-party zoning experts who have done it in other areas, and possibly maybe get some input from Mount Holly. Okay, they have a very good planning director there. Also, we have a nutrient issue. We have violations of the Clean Water Act. I want to say the percent impervious calculations that were done for Henry's Chapel Road that pushed that neighborhood forward were not correct. The engineer not only struggled here with sewer calculations, he also struggled with percent impervious calculations. He took the information from the developer. That's not good engineering. It's not good for the city of Belmont. So I would definitely get some third-party review, hear that? On all these different groups, third-party review on planning and zoning. Don't just part-time people coming in here volunteering. You really need some qualified planning and zoning experts because you're under stress. Some of the highest in the state. And you got an A-team. You got a good town manager, Public Works, you got it. Now we go ahead and say, let's put the pause button. Let's take the hand off the pause button gently. And as the act says that allows this, fix the root of the problem. I think I'm done, 38 seconds. All right, good enough?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Chris Kylehack.
If Mr. Hart needs more time, I would gladly defer closing comments for all of us concerned citizens.
I want to add one more thing because this came up on Henry's Chapel Road. You have tremendous historical resources down graves all over Henry's Chapel Road. That was totally blown over. That is not legal at the state of North Carolina level. You need to really do qualified grave evaluations in areas where there's sensitive things and turn those into parks. I know this from the citizens who are very quiet there, many of them African Americans. They have relatives who are all out in those fields with gravestones. In Huntersville, the McCoy Plantation, or the area where they have their cemetery, they protected that with old growth woods all the way around it. You have the same similar conditions there. So it's Henry's Chapel Road is an example. That whole development there is something that is a sensitive resource environmentally and also historically. The McLean development has done that. They protected their resources. They went out and did a grave evaluation because it was the right thing to do. But you could also require that by ordinance. You see how the smart growth would go, and then you would divide it up. And then also the developers would know the rules of the game. They would be tough, but fair. So we're not just going anti-development. We're doing smart growth, and you push your development up toward Belmont. Seems pretty logical. And I think everybody really wants that, and I think the developers would appreciate that. The ones who are out of town and who threaten lawsuits all the time, there'd be nice ways to tell them to go somewhere else, respectfully, okay? But the good developers, by folks who maybe know the people here, you would encourage them to a friendly but tough and fair town with the zoning ordinance. I would definitely take a look at more than just the sewer and the traffic. And I don't think there's anything else more to say. The sewer, and respectfully, sewer, you can't trick sewer. I said that 2 years ago and I got yelled at and laughed at, but you can't trick sewer. Sewer makes you stop and think. So the below ground issues, the water, wastewater, protection of your drinking water resources are very important, and they get forgotten if you only have a surface zoning ordinance. You've got to look at the subsurface. And that's actually required by state law. And that's why the reason for the pause. Okay, I think that's it.
Hold on. There's one more person signed up. You might not want to go anywhere. We have one more speaker, Kathy Fisher. Kathy Fisher. Going once, Kathy Fisher. Going twice?
She gave up.
All right. Well, that's the last public. She's not here. I can't let you speak for 3 more minutes.
I
'cause-
just want to say one more thing.
What?
Guys, I know Richard, it was tough to not see him here tonight. So just a moment of silence for him. He's just a wonderful guy. And thank God for Richard and the blessing he was to this town. Amen.
Thanks,
Amen.
Chris.
Thank you.
All right, well, that wraps up public comment. I don't know if there's any further questions. If there's deliberation, I suppose we could do it, we could close the public hearing and consider the ordinance. But if there's anything, you think of any questions for Kevin or anything, but if not, I'd entertain a motion to come out of public hearing.
Motion to come out of public hearing.
Okay, motion made by Alex, seconded by Charlie. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are now out of public hearing, and the item for consideration is the temporary development moratorium ordinance.
Is there any discussion?
I mean, as I think we've discussed it several times already in the lead up of this and calling for the hearing and hearing about how we do this over the last several meetings. But if there's any final thoughts or comments, otherwise we can take our vote.
Usually discuss after a motion's made.
Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion then.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the temporary moratorium based on the results from our recent sewer capacity study for the southern peninsula of Belmont.
Motion.
A second.
Motion made by Alex, seconded by Charlie. Any further discussion?
Look, I think maybe more of a comment.
Yeah.
You know, I think this is a little bit overdue. I think, you know, there were some on council, Richard Turner was actually one of them, a couple years ago that had been requesting this for quite some time, particularly tied to the sewer capacity study. So I think we are moving in the right direction. I don't think it's too late because we have to get this figured out for the citizens. We owe them that right because of the current condition of the sewer infrastructure that we have and potentially other infrastructure issues as well. So again, I think this is a no-brainer, and I'm glad we're doing this. So.
I would just echo my colleagues' sentiments that, you know, a lot of us ran on this very issue. And as somebody who's lived on the peninsula for 70% of my life, it's something that we live, breathe every day, and we hear from our residents every day about all the concerns, whether it's sewer and water or traffic or schools. You know, our infrastructure is severely lacking in that area and potentially in other parts of town too. But I'm happy to see that we have a city manager that took this issue up and a council that approved this sewer and water capacity study because it is long overdue. And I'm glad to see that we're addressing it now, and hopefully it will be to everyone's satisfaction in the end. So.
All right, if there's nothing further, then I guess we have the question before us. We have a motion made and seconded. All in favor of the temporary development moratorium ordinance signify by
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It passes unanimously. All right, that leads us to item, what is now revised C7, South Belmont Wastewater Infrastructure Improvements. And to present this topic, we have our Public Works Director, Jonathan Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. So before you tonight is South Belmont Wastewater Infrastructure Improvements.
Do you want to give a second, Larry?
Yeah, sure.
I saw,
I got it.
Okay.
Sorry. So how we got here, in August of 2023, the city entered into a contract with Withers Ravenel for a sewer system capacity analysis. This analysis was primarily in South Belmont and the South Point wastewater collection system. The engineering consultant performed a variety of tasks to complete this analysis, such as flow and rain metering, pump station, runtime analysis, and then ultimately developed a wastewater model. Some of the conclusions from this analysis showed that the Morgan's Branch pump station, which is a regional station, could have sanitary overflows,
during a 10-year storm with the current flows to that station, modeling out with potential storms and potential growth in that area showed that the station could have overflows at a 2, 5, and 10-year storm. So where are we now? Right now we are engaging a firm to perform and provide an evaluation of potential collection system upgrade options. Staff requested a proposal from Willis Engineers, who is one of the on-call consulting firms for the city. And Willis Engineers has provided a scope of services for this project, which details evaluation of the previously done report and study, preliminary and detailed design work, bidding services, regulatory assistance, and then construction assistance. The next steps would be to execute phase 1 of this contract with Willis Engineers. Under phase 1, we perform the evaluation and then also begin the surveying work. And then once evaluation is complete, Willis Engineers will present options to the city, which we will then review and choose the best path forward for the city. This is just a very rough timeline for the overall project. And then so tonight, staff is asking for approval to execute this contract with Willis Engineers and then also to approve the budget amendment in the amount of $215,000 for the evaluation and surveying phases of the project. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Jonathan? I guess I would have just one, and it might be more towards Miles, but we have 2 asks here, which we'll get to in a minute, which is one, to enter into a contract with Willis Engineers to perform these services, and 2, to approve a budget amendment for the cost of those services. And the source of that $215,000, am I correct in understanding that it's the 10 million that or is that another source?
Yes, I think in the budget amendment itself, it says anticipated revenue, state-directed grants, and I believe that's the $10 million, if I'm not correct. I think Jared's shaking his head yes, so that is coming from the state-directed grants to the city of $10 million. So we'll take the 215 to begin with for this phase 1. We do not have the actual contractor agreement inside the packet. We'd like for you all to direct staff to work with the consultant to execute the agreement along with our city attorney's oversight through that, but then to approve the actual budget amendment so that we can open a PO and really engage the firm and execute the contract.
Okay. And my only follow-up to that would just be as we head down this path and some other paths, I know when we originally got the $10 million grant from the state for water and sewer, we had envisioned certain projects, but since that time, we've had this come up, and we also have, the budget discussions with the state being where they are, and there are certain things you're hoping to get state funding for in this budget cycle that it doesn't look like are going to happen, SCADA being one of them, that in the upcoming months, we might need to have a discussion about whether we need to rearrange some priorities for that $10 million based on the realities that we face, since we originally came up with that plan, am I making sense?
Yeah, and I agree with you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to flag that. We should probably have that discussion at some point because I think there's additional things that have come up that we might need to direct some of those resources towards.
Can we put that on a workshop coming up?
I'm thinking through the process when we need to bring that back. And so you have the $10 million and the projects that were designated through your CIP plan for that. We just re-ranked it because this one took the top priority at this point. And this is just for like phase 1 of the engineering. So you got to consider like the full engineering of this project could be $800,000 potentially, possibly more. And so that's just for the engineering. So once Willis Engineers completes their phase 1 study, which is for them to look at Withers Ravenel's report to make sure that they understand it so they can move forward with an exact design. Plus, there's like a lot of easements throughout South Point Road that comes up, and they have to look at the easement to make sure that we have enough right-of-way, enough easement area to construct a new line potentially, whether we have to go out and purchase new properties as we move through this project. So an extensive surveying is going to occur over the next several months. And then we're going to bring all the data back with a full design, which allows us to move forward like phase 2. How much does it cost to get us to the end goal? Once we bring that back, we'll probably have an engineering estimate, I would assume, at some point.
Yes, that's correct.
And at the beginning of next fiscal year, beginning of next calendar year, I think January is what it was in Willis's contract.
The evaluation, I believe, is scheduled to be done by then.
Right, so I'm thinking like January is when we'll know how much potentially this sewer line is gonna cost us. And I don't wanna get too far ahead of ourselves to go ahead and commit $10 million worth of funding and then in January, February have to come back and say, well, we need to redo it again. I'd rather have all of it at one time and bring that forward. We do have another project that we had asked the state to fund, and that's the SCADA system upgrade, and so that we can communicate with our lift stations and our pump stations. That is another high priority project that I could consider. That would probably be one that would be ranked pretty high. It was ranked highly to begin with, and I imagine it'll be right there with the rest of them. And so I'm thinking like at a workshop like this next month is probably not a good time. I think we need like a couple more months to gather
Maybe
all
even
the
the
data.
retreat.
Possibly
Yeah.
the retreat
Yeah.
would be a good.
Plus, there'll be additional opportunities to be in front of our legislators as
Yeah.
well between now and then, even before the end of this calendar year, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Good stuff. Any questions then? Any further questions? If there are none, then we have two asks here. The first would be a motion to enter into a contract with Willis Engineers for the
Well,
evaluation and
I
survey.
think it's just to direct staff to work with Withers Ravenel to create the agreement.
Yes, okay. That's the first one. Is there a motion to?
I'll make the motion to direct staff to work with Withers Ravenel on coming up with a contract.
It's Willis Engineering.
Willis Engineering, sorry.
Yes.
I'll second.
All right, motion made by Alex, seconded by Jason. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously. The second would be a motion to approve the budget amendment to pay for that.
I'll make the motion to approve the budget amendment of $215,000.
Motion made by Alex, seconded by Catherine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. All right. Thank you. All right, well, that is all the items on the regular agenda, so unless there's anything else, that brings us to other business. Again, as Mayor Turner referenced in one of his final meetings, and as I brought up last time, as part of our other business, if we could just provide brief, it doesn't have to be more than a sentence or two, updates on some of the work that the boards and committees we're participating in, what they're doing over the last month since the last meeting. And you can just throw that in with all the rest of your stuff. We don't have to have a separate round for that. But I'll just start with Alex for other business.
Hey, Jim, do you want me just to go first on the board stuff and then?
Well, however you want to, it's up to you.
It's your other business.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess I'll start with the board. So if y'all remember, previously I was reappointed to the main delegate for the MPO, Gaston Cleveland Lincoln. They have not met yet since I've been reappointed. They canceled their September meeting, so they do have one coming up October 24th. You know, some kind of key questions that I think would all be interested to know is, you know, how does the funding for impacted roadways that we're experiencing from the previous hurricane, how does that impact our existing road projects such as I-85 and 74? So I do intend to bring that up, so hopefully to bring that information back. I'm also on the Environmental Sustainability Board. I did meet with one of the members just to kind of get a catch up, and they have a meeting coming up October 9th They've had a lot of meetings here recently pushed back or canceled, so, but they do have one October 9th. Some of the things they've been currently working on, they did review something that will potentially come to us, such as a solar farm over there, kind of where the Sisters of Mercy is. That is something that they're kind of continued dialogue to see, you know, what's the appetite, where does it fit into the sustainability. Again, I think eventually that will come to council for a yes or no vote, but just kind of a heads up there. And then recently, as in like a month or so ago, they kicked off their kind of composting initiative where they gave the community composting bins. From how I understand, that was pretty successful with residents coming to pick those up. And then the other board that I'm on is Main Street, which I'm on there with Jim. So just to touch on a few things, so one of the last meetings we had, and this is actually a conversation we've had, or this board has had previously, and we mentioned it at the retreat, but looking into expanding the actual district within the Main Street programs kind of charter, I guess you could say. One of those, for example, would be expanding it to the middle school, which is not currently, the old middle school, which is not currently in that district. The team is constantly working with business owners and property owners. They just recently had a coffee with the new owners of the building off Airline Street, trying to see what their vision is and what kind of we could expect potentially in the future and to offer their assistance. And again, I'm not going to go into everything, but I did also want to say Cassidy has been doing an outstanding job by standing up or getting that position since Phil has left. Yep. The meetings have gone off without a beat or missing a beat, so Cassidy, I really appreciate all your hard work there. That's it for my board updates. As far as other business, I'd like to thank our police, fire, and public works for everything they've done during this most recent disaster that hit North Carolina with the hurricane. I've seen a lot of comments out there, you know, why did they not do this? Why did they do this? You know, what I can say, and I feel very confident when I say this, our police department, our first responders, our public works were identifying and tackling issues that were of immediate threat or danger to the citizens, and they executed everything, in my opinion, flawlessly. So I really appreciate what they did during the most recent disaster. Again, I'd like to thank Jonathan and Miles on the Julia Avenue. Jason kind of briefly brought this up, but I had spoken to one of the residents over there in regards to expanding the rumble strips across both sides of the road. I appreciate you guys working on that and trying to get that fixed. And then finally, we kind of touched base on it, but I have gotten this question a few times in the community. This SCADA system, and Miles, correct me if I'm wrong, the SCADA system that we are hoping to get online and fund is what is going to bring the North Belmont booster pump online. I know there's been issues with water pressure up in North Belmont. I've had people saying, you know, where is this? We have the station, right? The pump station's ready. Right. We just have to get this system activated to bring it online, and we should fix those problems in regards to water pressure in North Belmont. Outside of that, that's all I have, Jim.
All right, thank you. Charlie.
Yeah, so what's the timeline on the SCADA system, real quick? Sorry.
Jonathan may have a better idea of the SCADA system timeline. Jonathan, you want to come up?
Sorry to make you walk all the way up here, Jonathan.
Yeah. We have not procured the system yet, okay. And if you want to provide anything else,
Miles is correct. We have not procured the system yet. We are still evaluating different options and working through that process that will provide the best system for the city at this time for the least amount of funding.
Sweet. Okay. Thank you. So jumping into boards on the Centralina, and then as Alex talked about, the MPO. There's not been a whole lot of updates there. A lot of the conversations center around infrastructure and ranking the needed infrastructure in the area. But as always, the conversation kind of pivots to funding. That's what it always comes down to, and there's not a whole lot of funding And I imagine with the devastation in Western North Carolina, there's gonna be a whole lot of restructuring in priorities.
Yeah.
I look for the 85 and 74 revamp, widening, whatever you wanna call it. I would venture to guess that that's gonna take a backseat to them getting I-40 and I-26 up and running again. So more to come, as Alex stated, with that. And then as far as Parks and Rec, I know you're gonna, Catherine's gonna provide the update for that board. So that's all I have for boards. With the whole Western North Carolina, this is a good segue into, we've all seen the devastation. Hearts go out to everybody that's impacted up there. But specifically, I want to give kudos to our fire and police. I know that they're up there going on weekly rotators to help the people out up there, and they, from my understanding, they jumped at the opportunity to go up there. They didn't have to be persuaded. They really volunteered and sacrificed their time and to be away from their families to go help out, and that makes me really proud to be a part of Belmont. That type of dedication is something to be admired. With that said, I know a lot of people have their site, or you might have heard somebody that's running a donation site. I've seen a lot of people stating that they're gonna load up their trailers and take items up there. So I wanna give a good shout out to Complete Kids. They're operating out of the old middle school. They have trailers running every day, multiple trailers, and they're doing it all out of the old cafeteria. They've got a slew of volunteers there that are compiling everything in that cafeteria and loading it up, organizing it, and getting it up there to the mountain. And I can't say enough good things about that operation. They're doing an excellent job. Number 4 for me. So Veterans Day, that's coming up right around the corner. So Susan Martello is organizing a Veterans Day celebration. And that's gonna be on November 3rd at 1. I've served with Susan in the North Carolina Air National Guard. She is wonderful. She is doing an excellent job of putting this together. And I strongly encourage, veteran or not, come out to the celebration on November 3rd. It's gonna be really great. And I would really like to see a lot of people there supporting that effort. If no other reason, do it for Susan. She's wonderful, and she's doing an excellent job with that.
And is that in Stowe Park?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's up on the upper field.
Okay. Very good.
And
You said Upperfield.
yeah, and that's all I have right now.
All right. Thank you. Catherine.
Okay, Jim, he said, I called him earlier just to go over all the other business stuff, and, you know, he was like, I need you to make sure you go over your board, and, you know, I am proud of Parks and Rec, and I read him like a 5-paragraph synopsis of how it went for the meeting, and he was like, I'm gonna need you to cut that down to like 3 sentences. So I did bring it down to like 25 sentences, so I'm just gonna read what I have. It's easier for me to do so. The Recreation Board meeting covered several topics, including the approval of the signage at Reed Park, funded partially by the City Council and community fundraising. They were really excited about that, and I really appreciate, was it Green, AJ Green, that had that up? TJ Green, excuse me, TJ. He did a great job, and I'm really appreciative of that. The board unanimously approved the bylaws. We went over some of the CIP, which is the capital improvement plan, and we were looking at priority versus non-priority projects. We spoke on the development. We have 10 acres of land near the McLean development on the south side of Belmont, and we were talking about ideas with that. We're going to bring that back up at a different time so that we can actually dive in a little deeper on that topic to figure out what would suit best for that area, parks, fields, etc. We also spoke on shade sales for playgrounds and various park maintenance issues reviewed. And then we had updates on all the sports programs, numbers, etc. on that. And then the October meeting was rescheduled due to a conflict with the Sports Hall of Fame, which I'm excited about. That will be, our next meeting will be November the 19th. So I even brought that down a bit, didn't I?
That was good.
Okay.
Hey Catherine, when is the Sports Hall of Fame?
October 15th.
October 15th, yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. All right, and then the other thing that I wanted to say was I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to our police, fire department, and public works teams for everything they did during Hurricane Helene. Their tireless efforts to manage the unknown and uncertainty that the devastating storm brought to our state brought so much comfort and peace to all of us. From clearing roads, assisting medical calls, and especially being on alert for the flooding caused by certain situations, they truly were a light in the darkness. I'm so proud to be a part of this town. It was beautiful to see how we all came together hand in hand to help not only our community, but our neighbor cities across North Carolina, including Western North Carolina. The storm was a reminder of how fragile life is and how important it is to never take anything for granted. Whatever differences we may have, they were set aside as we simply showed up to love and help one another when it mattered the most. Please continue to pray for those affected by the hurricane and for our brave officers and public works teams that are traveling back and forth to Western North Carolina to assist those in need. And Chief, I just wanted to tell you, both chiefs, I wanted to let y'all know I really appreciate everything that you guys are doing and the leadership that you have given. And Jonathan, I want to thank you for what you had to deal with through all of this. And then, of course, Miles, I know that we drove you insane, especially me, because I don't do research. I just immediately send the text. And thank you. I just am like, I want to know now. I don't want to look it up. I want to know. And he is so patient with me. So thank you so much for all the hard work that you put in every single day. I know how much you love Belmont, and it shows. Parks, thank you for all you do, too. We love you.
Thanks,
Well said, Catherine.
Okay, I'm done. That's all.
Jason.
Okay, so first off, board updates. Keep Belmont Beautiful. The board just named Marie Turner as president again. So she's serving at least her second term, maybe more than that. But I know that KBB is something she's very passionate about, and we appreciate her leadership. And there's lots of preparation underway now for the annual Big Sweep cleanup. There's a poster on the sign-in table over there. If you haven't seen it already, we'd encourage everyone that has an interest here in the room or watching at home to please come out and be a part of that. It's a great tradition for our town. It's a great opportunity to meet your community and teach your kids about what it means to keep a clean and presentable community for our residents
And the date
visitors.
is?
That is October the 19th, and it will start at 9 a.m. at Stowe Park, and we'll disperse from there, and they'll assign you different areas to.
Which part did you say?
Stowe.
Stowe.
Yep. Let's see. I also want to thank, with KBB, I want to thank Jonathan and Jake for your work, which is very vital for KBB. As you can imagine, we do a lot of work with Public Works. We thank them for their assistance there and the cleanup and partnership that they provide. Secondly, Tourism Development Authority. We've just recently undertaken a rebranding project, partnering with an outside firm, and that will be incorporated into future tourism-related campaigns through print, email, and social media outlets. We continue to work with our hotel partners, where we derive much of our funding for tourism initiatives. And we've recently approved some grant requests for various events like Belmont Trolley, the Main Street Directors Meeting, and the Bavarian Holiday Festival that's going to be coming to town this year. Lastly, the Transportation Advisory Committee. Our fourth quarter meeting was just postponed, obviously due to NCDOT's need to be rightly focused on the transportation needs of our friends in the western part of the state right now. But just a few recent developments have included the coordination and confirmation of our planned road and pedestrian safety improvements should the transportation bond referendum pass in November. We want to make sure that NCDOT is on board and blessing us with what we're hoping to do there. So we also have been informing NCDOT of various signal timing issues that we're having around town, including the intersections on NC 74 and Park Street and Main Street, as well as Eagle Road and Main Street. Some of those are kind of problematic. We hear from a lot of residents about those. We requested multiple speed reduction studies and additional posted speed limit signs in problematic areas. And then lastly, just continue the discussion and coordination for the future widening of NC 74 bridge between Belmont and Mecklenburg County, which for the moment is still planned for 2025 as the beginning date, but with the caveat obviously that I'm assuming that schedule may change due to the severe road repair needs through the mountains. And then just a couple of items for other business. Just want to reiterate what my colleagues have said about A huge thank you to our fire, police, rescue, and public works staff for the tremendous job you did in preparing and protecting our city during the recent devastating storm. Sounds like the introduction of the Emergency Operations Center was a very instrumental part of our city's preparedness plan, and I want to commend Chief Davis for setting this up. It sounded like everything that was really coordinated, like a lot of folks have said tonight, very efficiently. Also want to commend our public works staff for the responsiveness with the recent water testing and discoloration issues that we have from some residents in different parts of town. I thought you guys handled that really well, and hopefully those issues have all subsided now. And then lastly, as we mentioned a moment ago, the Belmont Sports Hall of Fame is going to be on October the 15th. We'd love to have you guys come out and see some of our local sports heroes be recognized and inducted into the Hall of Fame. 35th annual.
Very good. Thank you. I'll just say a few things in terms of my boards. The Gaston County EDC had their bi-monthly meeting this past month, and the main presentation was information about the Gaston County Career Technical Education Program, and they're doing a lot of really interesting things. So that was very informative. Beyond that, there wasn't a whole lot of, they were also getting ready for Manufacturing Week, which I think was just this past week. So there were a number of presentations there that business leaders and political leaders could participate in. So good things going on there. Main Street, I think Alex talked about the expansion of the boundaries. Jason, you mentioned through tourism development, the Bavarian Christmas Market, or Christkindlmarkt, as they'd say in German. But there's going to be lots of exciting things going on in December with Christmas Village, with the Bavarian Christmas Market. So stay tuned for that. With the trolley board, there was a debrief on the presentation that they gave last month. They thought it was very positive. They came away with very positive feelings. They thought it was a productive meeting, and they continued to progress towards getting that tripartite agreement signed with the trolley and the city and the state, as well as continuing towards the construction of the trolley barn / pavilion. There's all sorts of things going on. I think everyone's had some different events that they've talked about. I'll just add a few more. I know there's been some improvements around Reed Park over the summer, and there's going to be a dedication ceremony at Reed Park at noon on November 9th for some of those improvements. I talked to Oscar earlier this week, and last week, and wanted to make sure that we got the word out about that. Don't forget, Faith in Blue weekend is coming up. This weekend? I don't know if there's. I know there's a bunch of different programs. I don't know if I.
Kick off on Monday at 8:30 at the First Baptist Church, and extends all the way till from Friday to Monday. There's 4 different events, and if you'd like to go on our website, City of Belmont, the Police Department, and there's a flyer on there that tells you all the times and schedules for all the events.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, and we'll look forward to participating in some of the various events throughout the weekend. I know, Charlie, you mentioned the Veterans Day festivities in Stowe Park. I know Susan Martello had mentioned to me that some of us, I think, attended last year. There will be a Veterans Day ceremony at the American Legion itself, and I believe that's on Veterans Day proper. So if you have the opportunity to go to that, I know those of us that went last year thought it was a very beautiful ceremony. So don't forget that. If you are paying attention at home, you'll notice that in the consent agenda, we did approve the road closures for the Turkey Trot 5K this year, sponsored by Catherine's House. I know there was some angst, perhaps would be a good word to use, yesterday in social media about whether that event would be taking place. But as you see, that it is going to be taking place under the auspices of Catherine's House. So all those folks who have participated in the race in years past, it will be happening again. And you know, there is a method to our madness. If you were to go back and look at the August workshop agenda packet from this past August, you'd see the reasons why we declined the previous application and that we've granted this application now. So I just wanted to mention that because I think a number of us had received some communications from very anxious racers for this year's turkey trot, but it will be going forward with the same route as before. Again, thank you to all of our police, fire, public works, city staff, everyone for their preparedness in response to Hurricane Helene. Jason mentioned the Emergency Operations Center, which I think was really helpful, and as you know, strong as the response was, you know, I also appreciate, you know, the debriefing and, you know, efforts to always, well, what can we do better next time? What can we do better next time? And so we really appreciate all that you do for the community, and you know, we got off easy compared to a lot of other places. We've talked a lot about infrastructure tonight, and as much concerns as we have about infrastructure, at least we have infrastructure to be concerned about, which is something that some of our fellow communities in the West can't say. So just I echo everyone's thoughts and prayers, and appreciate all the police and fire department employees who have gone out and will continue to go out to assist in those recovery efforts. I thank the planning staff for you know, all of their efforts in connection with the Crescent application. I know it ended up getting continued, and that was a lot of work sort of getting everything aligned properly. There was 350 pages about that in the agenda packet. I read it before I found out that there was going to be a continuance, but it was a lot of work, and certainly if you went to the planning board meeting, the presentation was very thorough. So I appreciate all of their work with that proposal, and we'll look forward to seeing what transpires with that come May. The last thing I'll say is I'll just provide a college football score update from Raleigh this past weekend. Final score, Wake Forest 34, NC State 30.
He's not even going to acknowledge.
And so with that, I believe we have a closed session coming up, so I will entertain a motion to go into closed session here.
Can I add one more thing? I'm sorry, I know I'm infamous of this, but I just, as we were speaking, I had two things pop up in my head. Two, not one.
All
two.
right.
Public Wi-Fi. Our public Wi-Fi. I have had several people, more than several, a lot of people, including myself, I'm not going to lie. It is horrible. So I'm not sure who we use. Maybe we need to look into that and what we're paying, because it's not worth what we're paying. And so maybe we can just truly check into that, because when my phone, Verizon's horrible too. We all know this if you have Verizon. When I can't connect to my phone, I have to lean on public Wi-Fi, and it's their lack of, especially in Stoke Park. And I'm speaking on behalf of like vendors that are in the farmers market, you know, people that come from out of town that, you know, and we certainly don't want to mooch off of local businesses. Right.
I've heard that
so,
a lot.
and we're thankful for them, you know, giving us that option, but we don't want to have to do that. So maybe we could just check into that and see what
We are.
Don't we have?
I mean,
aren't we
this
working
is
on
why
it?
you're the best manager, because you already are. See, I don't do my research before I speak.
We've had some discussions, and I think Kevin's been involved in that too, because I know others, like you said, others, merchants and folks involved with the Main Street program have had the same. We've had issues at the Friday Night Live concerts as well.
Right.
I can provide a small update.
Yeah, please.
Sure.
Yep. So we've got, we had Open Broadband, which was the company that came in several years ago, and they put their devices in downtown. Their devices didn't work, so our IT department cut that contract, so we don't have to pay for Open Broadband anymore. So that's gone. We also have a cell tower issue in the downtown area particularly, and so I had Jonathan on his side. We have our water towers, and we sell space on our water towers to the third-party providers for cell service. We have an engineering company that manages the water tanks and the corral where all the cell tower locations are there. And so as a means to reach out to Verizon, I had Jonathan, he manages that contract with those people to see if there's any way that we can provide like new cell coverage downtown potentially. We also had our IT department work with Spectrum, and so we plan to, the last I heard, I think this was last week, is to provide coverage in Stowe Park on the streets in downtown through Spectrum.
Nice.
So it's not lit up quite yet, but we've approached it from like several different means to stop one contract that wasn't working, and now how can we improve it downtown in the future. So I imagine the next couple of months, hopefully, we'll have some kind of resolution with Spectrum that would light up, because we know that the DBDA Main Street, they're losing money because their point-of-sale machines don't work. When we have special events downtown, everybody's on the system and network, and it just clogs it up. So yes, we're doing multiple things in the downtown to try to help out. I know if you're downtown, you can't get cell service.
No, just in general, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say I made a joke. We'll just keep on going.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, and then the last thing was, I wanted to just put on record that we do have a mass communication. It's called City Connect. I know that you are working on getting that put on our government page so that we can click that as a citizen. It's already there. See, click on that, and you're going to get signed up for that so that you get all communications, whether it's from the police department, fire department, us, whatever. For example, like the Bull Advisory, this would give you an opportunity to have that come to your phone and or your email if you're not on social media. So I just want to make sure that we put that out there, because I know a lot of people were aggravated that, you know, we updated on social media, but we didn't anywhere else, which we did. I want to make that clear. We did update through City Connect, so please make sure if you're not signed up to get signed up on City Connect. And that's it, I promise.
All right, thank you. At this point, is there a motion to go into closed session?
Motion to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute, Section 143-31811A4, to discuss matters relating to the location of business in the area and to include Catherine Horn, Nikki Hill, Jennifer Joyce, Cassidy Lackey, Miles Braswell, and Parks Wilson.
All right, there's a motion to go into closed session. Do I have a second? Jason?
All in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we are now in closed session. We'll clear the room. Yes.
2 seconds.
Well, we got to clear the room.